Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. Who will be Magnus Carlsen next challenger for the world title? We have a 2-year cycle now in the World Championship, so the next World Championship match will be held probably at the end of 2018. At the start of 2018 there will be a candidates tournament with 8 players. Of those 8 players we only have filled one position. That will be Sergei Karyakin, the loser of the last World Championship match. The other 7 places in the candidates tournament are still up for grabs. 2 of these positions will be decided through the FIDE Grand Prix, which is a series of 4 tournaments, part of the qualification cycle for next year's World Championship. The top 2 finishers will qualify for the 2018 candidates tournament. There are 24 players in the Grand Prix, and each tournament will be an 18-player, 9-round Swiss system tournament, which is different than before when they had a round-robin format. These are the 4 tournaments of the FIDE Grand Prix 2017. The first one was held in Shia in the United Arab Emirates in February, and you can see the 3 winners were Grishuk, Vachier-Lagrave and Mamedyarov. This video is recorded in May 2017 and we see the Moscow tournament being played, and I will make some videos on that tournament. In July we'll have Geneva in Switzerland, and in November Palma de Mallorca in Spain. The top 2 players from these 4 tournaments will gain a spot in the 2018 candidates tournament, which will decide on Magnus Carlsen next challenger. A few quick words on the Shia tournament. It was not great, and that's why I didn't make any videos on it yet, because we saw 74% of draws, which is very high even in an elite tournament. For example, in the Tata Steel Masters, which I covered on this channel, there were 62% draws, and that was also an elite field. 74% is very high. And not only that, but of the 60 draws that happened in Shia, 18 ended in 23 moves or less. So they were very non-competitive draws. Pavel Alyanov, one of the participants, said on Twitter, "Concerning chess content, it was one of the most boring tournaments I ever played, with so many quick draws every round. It's a complex topic, but it seems that for the sake of attractiveness, there should be invented some kind of no draw offer rule in every tournament." Why were there so many draws in this tournament? Part of the explanation is that winning the tournament was not as important as gaining points for the overall Grand Prix standings. For example, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave won his first 2 games and knew that he was going to win a lot of points with that score, and his remaining 7 games were draws. He got 140 points for the FIDE Grand Prix, which he was happy with, but it was clear that he was not as ambitious after winning the first 2 games. But it was not all bad in Shia. I want to show you a game from Jan Nepomniachtchi against Li Chao from the 6th round. A wonderful game. Hope you like it. White Nepomniachtchi, black Li Chao, played on the 24th of February 2017, the 6th round of the first tournament of the FIDE Grand Prix. Nepomniachtchi opened e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, the Petrov defense, or the Russian defense as it's called. Knight takes pawn, d6, kicking the knight back, knight f3, knight takes e4, d4, d5, bishop d3, bishop d6. Many years ago the Petrov was seen as the way for black to make a draw, as nowadays the Berlin variation of the Ruy Lopez has that reputation. Both players castled, c4, c6, knight c3, that knight was taken, pawn takes back, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, And here the main move in this variation is bishop g4, but Li Chao played bishop f5. And Nepomniachtchi played bishop g5, a novelty. Played after 8 seconds, so it was definitely part of his preparation. It seems a bit odd as it drives the black queen to a better square, queen c7, and rook e1, h6, kicking the bishop, and now played after 12 seconds, knight h4. Obviously, such a move can only be played if white knows exactly what he's doing. White counterattacks black's bishop. That bishop went to h7 after 5 minutes of thinking time. And now the bishop on g5 as well as the pawn on h2 are hanging. And Nepomniachtchi plays bishop takes h6. Played after 17 seconds, so he still was in his preparation. Li Chao thought for 26 minutes and took on h2, trying to not accept a piece sacrifice, but also not lose a pawn, because white has just taken a pawn on h6. What would have happened if black would have taken the piece? G takes h6. Then we have queen g4 check, king has to go to h8, and knight f5. Here black cannot play rook g8, because then there is rook e8, and the rook is pinned, can't take the queen, but can't take the rook either, because of queen g7 checkmate. So bishop takes f5 to deal with the checkmate threat on g7 is the best move here. Queen takes back, and then the best move is f6 to avoid queen f6 check with a mating attack. After f6 the queen comes into the defense. Of course, instead of f6, black could also take on h2 with check, king h1, and then queen f4. That also prevents queen f6 check from white. But then white has queen h3 and the bishop is trapped. But this was probably black's best bet. Let's go back to the start of this variation where black accepts the piece on h6, g takes h6, then we had queen g4 check, king h8, knight f5, bishop takes f5, and queen takes f5. Of course here you can also play knight d7 to control the f6 square, but that's not very good because white wins after bishop d3 with a checkmate threat on h7. So as I said before, f6 would have been the best move here. So the black queen can come into the defense. But then there is rook e6 and then knight a6 to get the rook on a8 into the game as well. Queen h3, attacking the h6 pawn, king g7 and rook a e1 with a winning attack for white. All his 4 pieces are attacking the weak black king and black has not enough pieces in the defense. So this is probably why Li Chao, after bishop takes h6, did not take the piece, but took on h2. As I said, trying to not accept a piece sacrifice, but also not lose a pawn. Nepomniachtchi played king h1 and bishop f4. Now Nepomniachtchi thought for a long time, for the first time in the game. He took 16 minutes to come up with bishop takes g7. Wonderful move. White insists on sacrificing. If instead he had taken on f4, then after queen takes f4, the position is equal. But Nepomniachtchi wanted to win. Bishop takes g7. King takes. Queen g4 check. King h8. Knight f5 with a checkmate threat. Again, you cannot play rook g8 because of rook e8 as we saw before. That same variation applies here. So bishop takes f5 was played by Li Chao. Queen takes f5, and now queen d6. Here Li Chao could also have played f6, like we saw in a previous variation. Then there is bishop d3 with the threat of queen h5 check, and then rook d8 with a winning attack for white. Again, white has a lot of pieces in the attack, and black does not have enough defenders, and also the king does not have any pawn protection. So as said, Li Chao chose queen d6, getting the queen into the defense. g3 from the Pomnichi, kicking the bishop. Bishop went to h6. And king g2, making room for rook h1, bringing the rook into the attack. b5, kicking the bishop, bishop b3, and queen g6, bringing the queen into the defense of the black king. The queens were swapped, queen takes, f takes, and rook e7. Even without queens, white's attack continues. Black's rook a8 and knight b8 are not playing, so white has an extra rook in the attack. And now, of course, rook h1 is a very strong threat. Li Chao came up with g5 to counter rook h1 with rook f6. And here a very beautiful move from the Pomnichi, rook e6. Wonderful. King g7, rook h1, rook h8 to protect the bishop on h6. But white is already winning here. Rook e7 check, king g6. If the king goes to f8, then there is rook he1. Very nice, the rook first going from a1 to h1 and then switching back to e1. And if black then plays knight a6, desperately trying to bring his rook on a8 into play, then there is rook f7 check, king g8, and rook takes a7 is check, a discovered check from the bishop, and that rook on a8 will go. So king f8 is not playable after rook e7 check, so Li Chao played king g6. But after bishop c2 check, Li Chao resigned. Black is getting checkmated. It's mate in 5. King f6 is the only move, and then there is rook he1. Then g4 is the only move. Rook 1 e6 check. King g5. Rook g6 check. King h5. Rook e5 check. Bishop g5. And finally rook e takes g5 is checkmate. A wonderful attacking game from Jan Nepomniachtchi, the Russian Grandmaster. Things went very wrong for Li Chao, and the Petrov, which was once a drawing weapon, was bamboozled by a novelty by Nepomniachtchi, the bishop g5 move, and then we had a surprise piece sack 3 moves later with bishop takes h6 and then bishop takes g7. This picture shows the position after knight h4, and you can see from Li Chao's body language that he knows that he fell into Nepomniachtchi's opening preparation. Hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and I'm looking forward to your comments. You may want to tell me and the rest of the viewers who you think will be the next challenger for the world title. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could also share it on YouTube. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you very much for watching.